Datherine Revised summary, revised version of Datherine. Some things are changed. Cat is the human David falls for in the present day. So Rebecca Michelson is the vampire that turned him. Also, Cat is already out of high school when they meet. When they fall in love, what would shoot? Would David have to choose between them? Will Klaus find out about him and Rebecca? If so, what will happen? Introduction. There was a vampire by the name of David Salvatore. He was born into the night in 1864, having been killed by his father with vampire blood in his system. He was born and died in Mystic Falls, Virginia. Though he tried to live up to his father to make him proud, it was never enough. He decided eventually to go down his own path, but his father killed him for loving a vampire. His father had no clue that his son would wake up a vampire, so he was caught off guard when David visited him. David knew Figgy would finish the transition, so he chose to feed on and kill his father. After all, he'd brought pain to David's life. When David returned to Mystic Falls, he never expected to fall in love with a human, but he did. He fell in love with a human without a family. Catherine Pierce, her entire family was gone, but she still pressed on, and only David knew what she truly was. After all, his sire had been an original vampire named Rebecca Michelson, but he hadn't known that Rebecca was an original. Because of the Michelson, he knew that she was a doppelganger, and even before they fell in love, he was going to protect her with his life, knowing there was a possibility that Klaus would come and collect her. And so their story came to be. They just didn't expect what would come to be. This is their story. Chapter 1, Pilot. It was a dismal night in Mystic Falls as David lay in the middle of the world, waiting for someone to come drive him down. This was his way of being low profile with very low casualties. As he lay there, the vampire who had returned to town not long ago suddenly heard a voice. That's when he got to his feet, the voice about to be his meal for the night. A moment later he appeared on another world, which was when he saw her by the tree line not far from the woods. That's when he saw her, a doppelganger. She was on the phone with someone. She was also still young. She turned around after hanging up, which was when she saw the stranger. That was weird that he was by himself. She got nothing of it, so she approached him. What are you doing out here by yourself? Don't you have friends or something? She questioned him. I could ask you the same thing. It's dangerous to be out here all on your own. He was not on your phone. I couldn't help but hear your argument. He's just an ex, nothing to worry about. I'm just not the person I used to be. Not after the annual attack a few years ago. I used to have everything planned out for my future. Since my parents fell, I don't know what I want. What's your name? She asked. Catherine Pierce. I'm David, he told her. Then she added, I don't think that that's true. I think you want what everyone else does. Okay, David, what do I want? She wanted to know. You want a love that consumes you, adventure, and very alone nature, he answered her. And I want you to get everything you're looking for. I have to go now, but I'll be seeing you. It was nice to meet you, Catherine. They gave each other a smile before he began to walk away, deciding to find someone else to feed on tonight. After seeing what she was, but also after their conversation, he did want to feed on. Chapter 2. The Night of the Comet. It was a beautiful day as David poured himself a shot glass of bourbon. Like most vampires, it was his favorite drink. He moved back into the Salvatore boarding house. It was his family home, but he also didn't have anywhere else to call home. Meanwhile, Cousin Pierce had just finished getting wet. Already, for some unknown reason, she wanted to see David. She didn't know why, but she always missed him, and since she didn't have anything better to do, she went to see if she could find him. After all, she was already graduated and had the night off until she got her life back on track. She was working as a bartender at the Mystic Bar and Grill. Aaron was out and about that night when he smelled human blood. Then he heard an explosion. When he found the scene, a girl had been bitten, but he knew it hadn't been him. There was a group of kids trying to help her, but she knew that it was going to be too late. Sophia Injun was a Catholic. She didn't care that she was going to die. However, what she did care about was who did it. He was supposed to be the only vampire in town. Chapter 3. Friday Night Fights. It was a chilly night as Catherine walked, heading up to her SUV. She was unaware that she was in danger, till someone came out of nowhere, face not exactly human. No others were quick to believe the animal attack stories. She always knew it to be weird that there were so many in one town. Because of this, seeing his face, she assumed that he had to be a vampire, which meant that they truly existed. As the vampire lunged at her when she was on her back on the ground, she saw a wand on the ground. Seeing that, she grabbed it and stabbed him in the heart, then killed him. Then she got in the SUV and drove home, still scared of what had just happened. When she got home and was unlocking her door, she saw David approach. "Are you okay?" He seemed to be bored and a little shaken up. "You will be too if you ever got bitten by a vampire. I think I know what I'm up against," she replied. She got her door unlocked and walked in, and she said, "Why don't you come in?" As she walked in, David gave a smile. Then she asked, "Why are you so willing to believe in vampires? Everyone else believes in the animal attacks." "Because I almost got there tonight. It's also because there are too many animal attacks in this town. And what would you do if someone you might care about was a vampire? But the vampire wasn't responsible for the attacks, to let you know. And take it into consideration why. Because I'm that vampire. You don't have to be afraid, though. I won't hurt you. We've had a rough night. Why don't we have dinner? I can tell you everything. You just have to keep vampires a secret. Deal?" He replied. She was shocked, but it made sense to her. After all, he'd come out of nowhere. Deal. She went to the kitchen to make dinner. Half an hour later, they were sitting at the table having dinner. "So, how old are you? When did you turn or whatever?" she asked. Ask me the easy question first. "I turned in 1864 here in Mystic Falls. I'm 145 years old. I was born here, but I had to leave town when the town found out about vampires, my father included. He killed me when I had vampire blood in my system. So I woke up and transitioned. As the vampire that turned to me told me everything. I knew what I had to do. Since I was out on revenge against my father, I think you can guess the rest of it. My father was never proud of me no matter what I did, so I gave up trying. So, he turned to you, she writes down. Her name was Rebecca, he said. She took her family well. Chapter 4, 162 candles. It was a beautiful day as they went downstairs. He just got ready when she sensed the presence in his home. When she entered the living room, he got ground and pinned to the couch. That soul was stronger than him because she was 350 years old. He knew that when he saw her. Lexi, he said aloud to her. David, she finally smiled before they could go. He got to his feet. What are you doing, sir? I'm here to celebrate your birthday. Don't tell me you've forgotten. Last time we were in the same room, I blamed you and left you to die in the sun. I don't need help, nor do I celebrate birthdays. We wish them all with you, so you might as well go back where you came from, you find. He still felt bad for leaving her to die on that rooftop when he'd been emotionless so long ago. He just wanted to be left alone as usual. He didn't want to hurt her. Why do you have to ruin my fun? Come on, let's at least go to the party, she insisted, which brought back the memory of when they'd enjoyed a Bon Jovi concert together. No, he declined. You know I'm going to find some way to celebrate your birthday, so we might as well do so. Maybe I'll ask that you and yourself submitted that. What's her name? I'm sure she'll be glad to help celebrate your birthday. Her name's Catherine, and I don't want you near her. Trying to keep her life with as little vampires as possible. If you insist, we can have a party here, but only you and I will be welcome. No unwanted guests. Trying to not put the castle on my trail. Actually talked a little but understood. She just didn't understand him not wanting her to be Catherine. It wasn't like she'd hurt her in any way. She was glad he gave it. But on that day, they partied by dancing and drinking with music. Then afterward, he left Lexi there so he could go feed on someone. While he was gone, Cap came in looking for David. David, she called, which Lexi heard from where she sat on the couch. He's not here, but you can wait if you want. He'll be back soon, Lexi informed when Kat saw her. Who are you? The human asked. Lexi, I'm just a friend, Tig. I thought I'd check on him, make sure his humanity is still intact. I helped him turn it back on years ago. She answered and explained to her. Well, I think I'll come back later, she replied. She laughed as Lexi watched. When he returned, he sensed that something was up. That's what she asked. What's on your mind? I met New Zealand. She came looking for you, but she didn't want to stay. After Lexi told him that, they were left to go check on her but found that she was fine. 2 nights later, David and Catherine found out that there was another vampire in town. People were being killed after all, and it wasn't Lexi or David doing it. Because of this, David and Kat were looking for the vampire, but kept being unsuccessful. Chapter 5, The Turning Point. It was a blissful night as the human girl. She had just found out that she was an operator. It was upsetting to her because he hadn't told her until now, even though he'd known since first meeting her. After this news, she left his place to take things through. Suddenly, as she continued driving, someone stood in the road, which made her slam on the brakes and slow to avoid hitting him. The SUV ended up upside down, though, as the vampire began to approach her. The young man went black for her. When she woke up, she was tied to a chair. The vampire in the room. It looked like they were in the basement. "You're awake. Good," he commented. Then he took out a phone card and they were telling him to find them if he wanted her to stay alive. He was doing this for an eye for an eye. Then he hung up. "Please don't," she said, not wanting David whispered to his wife, but also not wanting to die. She knew she couldn't do much though. It felt like that she probably had a concussion. Everything was worried. "Don't worry, it'll be over soon," cried the should before setting the place on fire immediately. Meanwhile, David was searching for them, all the while angry and crying. It didn't take too long to find and sneak up on him, pinning him to a brick wall, hand around his height. "Where's Catherine?" he demanded. Clyde told him the address. David whipped out his heart and dropped it before fleeing to the house. Half an hour later, he entered the basement. He then looked at her, hands on either side of her head. He assumed from the blood on either side that she had a concussion. "Catherine, could you hear me?" he called to her. When she did wake up, he snapped three ropes in two and gently picked her up in his arms before fleeing out of the house and to the hospital. A few hours later, when she woke up, she found that she was in a bed at the hospital. She also saw that David was there, obviously having been waiting for her to wake up. She knew that that meant that she'd saved her. She assumed he'd also survived Clyde, one of his vampire enemies, and probably had taken care of him. She gave a smile. "Hey." David sat on the bedside and looked at her. "You look better?" "I am," she replied. "Good. I wouldn't want anything to happen to you, nor do I like hospitals," she commented. He gave a smile, which she returned. After a few days, she was discharged from the hospital, so David took her home. Chapter 6. Founder's Day. David woke up in the basement, which had some fire ignited. The last thing he remembered was the pain in his head that had felt like a magical migraine. After the council had found out that vampires were back in town, they'd used the same device used in 1864. Not to mention, John Gilbert was back. He apparently had a weave that helped him cheat death. If that device had been activated, they'd put everyone in the basement who had cracks. He looked around from where he was on the floor. He felt weak, which he knew meant that he'd been injected with vervain, just enough for a vampire to not be able to move much. After all, vervain were good to vampires. And as he looked, he saw John State Anna, the daughter of a vampire named Paul, whom he'd cared about and known since 1864. He hadn't been there to stop John from sticking Paul. Now he couldn't say Anna because she was weak. Kat was walking around the grounds searching for David. She knew what John had been planning, so she hoped he hadn't gotten David. She was worried that David was in danger because she couldn't get a hold of him, and she didn't want anything to happen to him. After a few minutes of walking around in search of him, she saw a small building that looked like maybe there was a fire everywhere. Since she knew that John's idea was to burn the vampires, she was afraid of what the fire was. She didn't let it consume her though. Instead, she rushed over to it and hurried down the stairs. When she got to the bottom, she saw that there was an old basement. There were a lot of people, mostly desperate vampires or dead humans that were thought to be vampires. She knew one desperate vampire, Anna. She got to know both Anna and Paul. Then, when she looked around, she finally saw David. That's when she rushed over to him, which was when she saw that he was weak. That made her realize that the vampires had all been injected with food after being found by the council to possibly be vampires. Since he was weak, she put an arm around him, helping him. Come on, let's get you out of here, she said. David was glad for the rescue, especially from Catherine, and help him get out of the basement. He then let her take him home, since he was still weak. Digestive remained when drinking bourbon was one thing. Being injected with remain was another story. However, he eventually felt better after having a hospital bag of human blood. Chapter 7 The Return. It was a dismal night as David poured himself a shot glass of bourbon. Things had been great so far. He and Kat had both survived recent dangers. They'd also got rid of John, stopping the castle from attacking more vampires that didn't deserve it. He took a few sips of his drink before setting it down on his drinking table, sensing a presence. He then took a step forward, which was when he got pinned to a wall in a blur, but not by an enemy. Before him was a familiar blonde, much older than Lexi. Rebecca, he breathed. Then, when she let him go, he asked, "What are you doing here?" "Shouldn't you be with Klaus, probably making it with blood everywhere?" After all, she always did talk badly about Klaus. "It's none of your business why I'm here. Can't a girl just stop by to visit an old friend? Unless you're worried I'm helping my brother find the doppelganger." "Don't worry, I have no intention of helping him do anything of the sort. He can find his supernatural beings on his own," she replied and assured him. Then she added, "Now, how much did you miss me?" He gave a smile, realizing Kat wasn't in immediate danger, nor would they be caught by Klaus right now. Though he was beginning to fall for Kat. The plus of being a vampire meant you could love two people in a century and get away with it. And he had missed Rebecca. She always made things fun. After a moment, they began to make up. Chapter 8 Brave New World. It was a dismal night as David walked through the streets on his way to the Mystic Bar and Grill for a drink. He was on the lookout as he did so, because he'd done a wrong thing earlier. He'd peeved off someone named Jules. She was a friend with someone else that had just come back into town around the time Rebecca had, someone named Mason. And after doing some searching with Catherine, they'd found out that vampires were the only things that existed. Werewolves did too, which was what Jules and Mason were. However, Mason was a more laid-back one, while Jules was more of a kick-ass one. David peeving up Jules before a full moon. He knew it was a bad idea. David wasn't always a very nice person, though, so it was usually expected, especially when he was faced with the sudden realization that werewolves were real. For centuries, werewolves have been myths for the vampires that didn't know they existed. Now that they knew they existed, they knew to be cautious. That's why David was on alert. He didn't want to be attacked by a werewolf. Everyone knew that the werewolf fight was a slow and painful death sentence to a vampire. Suddenly, without any warning, she was attacked from behind and knocked to the ground. Then, before he could get up and face his attacker, he was soaked in what he knew to be gasoline. Then he looked to see who it was. Jules. Jules stood a short distance away after dropping the match as the fire began to make its way towards where David lay. You knew not to aim a werewolf close to your full moon, David. You knew there'd be payback for it. This is what happens when you mess with the werewolf. He began to feel some fire starting on his leg, which hurt, and he tried to stop it. Then he saw Catherine come between them. Stop it. I'm sorry not to anger you, but this isn't the way. You can't be killing one another just because one of you angers the other, she reasoned. Sure I can. Watch me, she replied, before feeling someone behind her. Then there was a hand around her throat. No one hurts those I care about and gets away with. I'm telling you for this, if you want me in life. Try this again, you'll be sorry, Rebecca told her. Then she let go of her in order to leave. I don't want to see you again. While Rebecca dealt with the werewolf, it gave Catherine time to help David, which she did. Then the human got David home once he wasn't on fire anymore. Chapter 9. Rose. It was a nervous night as the doppelganger exited the back of the Mystic Bar and Grill, taking out the trash by herself. She was done with her shift, so she was ready to head home. After she took out the trash, though, she got grabbed from behind. Then everything went black. When she woke up, she was on a couch in what looked to be an abandoned house. Daylight streamed in through the windows. She wasn't alone, though. There were two people. They were arguing over her. She could tell that they were vampires because the female called Trevor wanted a taste from her, but the female that Trevor called Rose refused to let him because they were waiting for someone named Elijah. Elijah seemed to be important, but since she didn't know these two vampires, nor did she know much about Rebecca, she didn't know who Elijah actually was. Suddenly, after they finally stopped arguing, the door opened to reveal someone. Rose looked at him as Kat stood from the couch to stand in the middle of the room. Elijah, Rose greeted. In an instant, Elijah stood in front of the doppelganger. He was here to collect for class, being quite loyal to him. He then snipped some of her hair before stepping away. Human. Interesting, he commented, considering she was the mirror image of a past love that he'd lost. Tatya. You promised we'd be pardoned if we hadn't knew the doppelganger. You've got her. Now you have to live up to your end of the bargain, Rose reminded him, standing a good distance away from him and Catherine. Oh, yes, he said. Then, in a blur, he was standing by Trevor, who was by a wall. Then Elijah used an arm and severed Trevor's head from his body. There's your pardon. Now you're free, he told her, as she wept over just losing her friend. Elijah didn't seem to really care at the moment, though. He just went back over to the human and put a hand on her arm. Come, we mustn't leave her. We have a long trip ahead of us. He then began to walk with her, but stopped in his tracks, since he was not the presence at the house. There was someone he did know, so he assumed it to be someone here to rescue the doppelganger. Seeing that, he let her go and said loud enough for whoever it was to hear. You're very mistaken if you think you can beat me. You can't. They repaired to Rio where he was on top of the stairs. He then headed down there as he said, You sure about that? He was pretty certain that they would, because she'd just been informed from Rebecca and Meg once they realized that she'd been taken. Now he knew Rebecca was an original, along with her brothers Elijah and Klaus. He wished he would have known from the beginning, but knew he couldn't take back the past. He could only move forward. Elijah was about to leap word towards him to do what he and his siblings did best, but was stopped by Rebecca standing in the way. I wouldn't, if you know what's best, leave brother, she told him, a hand towards him, ready, in case she didn't do as she asked of him. Unlike her, she knew Elijah would always be loyal to class. Yes, Rebecca would do anything for her family, but she was sick and tired of being told what to do by class. She wasn't as loyal, though she would kill those that would try to kill any of her siblings, even if they tried to kill class. Even when she hated class, she also still loved him. He was her family, and she looked out for her. When Elijah wasn't there for her because of being daggered by class, class would always be there when she needed him. This isn't the last you'll see of me, Elijah stared to David and Pat. Then he vanished, not wanting to fight his own sister on this matter. He'd find a different way to get to Pat. After all, he didn't want Klaus coming to town yet. Klaus had a habit of turning everything upside down, leaving only remnants behind. Cat ran over to David and they hugged. Then she and Cat left. Becca finally looked at the aftermath and, knowing the feeling of losing those you cared for, told Rose, I'm sorry. Then she followed Cat and David out of the house. But while they went back to the boarding house, Rebecca went to a family home that wasn't that far from the woods. Upon entering the Maxim family home, Rebecca sensed that someone else was there. She didn't have to see him to know who it was, though. She knew from the set that it was Elijah. She also knew that he would probably have a speech or lecture prepared for her for studying against him. He would never dagger Rebecca, unlike Klaus, but he would use words to try and persuade her against what she thought was the right thing. She was his only sister left alive. He didn't want anything bad to happen to her, but he could never stop Klaus from killing her present love. Klaus didn't listen to anyone. He went by what he thought was best, no matter the cost of everyone else. You stood against me today, Roger stared. Once she'd entered the living room, standing not far from her. Why? It was the right thing to do, Elijah. You would have killed him without a second's thought. I'd protect him. And how much do you really care about him? You know what will happen if the class finds out. Just don't tell him what I did. Just say you lost her. I won't tell him then, he assured her. He would never tell Klaus anything when it came to whether Klaus would punish her again or not. He didn't wish Klaus to dagger her or kill another love of hers. Chapter 10. The Descent. It was a dismal night as the full moon came. This would be the night that all werewolves residing in Mystic Falls would be facing as wolves. Because of this, David was staying indoors, hoping it would be safe. David was on his couch, having a shot glass of bourbon, packed in the living room with him. They were hoping that the full moon wouldn't be eventful, because they wanted at least one night when they wouldn't have to worry about anything. Sure, Elijah was still in town, but David was sure that as long as Rebecca was in town too, Elijah would be staying in line. With everything Rebecca had told him, when she told Elijah not to do something, he usually obeyed her. It seemed to David that Elijah never wanted to fight with her on anything, which made him an honorable person. Kat had even seen it for herself that he kept his word to Rose. He'd pardoned her, though it hadn't turned out like Rose had planned it. Suddenly, just as David finished his shot glass of bourbon and had set it on his dressing table, standing in his living room, there was a crash. That made him and Cat both look to see a silver werewolf watch right through the big living room window and into his living room. Then it stood not too far away from where David was. Before it could attack, though, it was stopped in its tracks. Cat stood between them. Stop! If you want David, you have to go through me first, she told it. We both know you wouldn't attack us even on purpose, she added. And she Mason as a werewolf before, so they both knew it was Mason rather than Jules. Mason stood there and debated before jumping through the broken window back outside, deciding that it wasn't worth it. Chapter 11. Klaus. It was a dismal night as the Klaus Maxson arrived in Mystic Falls. He was here to collect his doppelganger. Elijah had told him that it was proving to be difficult to get her because she had a few people that cared about her. Klaus didn't care about that like Elijah did, so Klaus was willing to do anything he had to by force if that's what it took. He would break the spell his mother had done on him 1,000 years ago to make his werewolf side dormant. She had denied him of what he truly was supposed to be. He was born a werewolf first, so when his mother created the first vampires, he was supposed to be a hybrid. And because he was wrong, he felt he wanted to create more hybrids. He wanted his own species. After all, he'd always felt like an outcast of the family. His stepfather, Michael, had always hated him. His mother had once loved them all, him most of all, but she'd come to hate him too, and his siblings had each other. Sure, they always stood by him, but some of them weren't as loyal. He wanted to feel like he belonged for once. To do that, he had to make his own species, and he wasn't about to let anyone stop him. Meanwhile, after Elijah found out that Klaus was coming and told Rebecca, she told Kat and David. She loved her brother, but she wanted nothing to do with him becoming a hybrid. Since it came to the fact that Klaus would probably be going after David, though, she was ready to stand against him, even if it meant that she'd be daggered by Klaus again. It was an endless cycle every century. If she disappointed him, she literally got a dagger in her back for a century or two. If that happened, though, she knew that now that Elijah knew how much she cared about David, she knew Elijah would let Klaus kill him. Klaus walked through the streets of Mystic Falls, Virginia, in search of his doppelganger, only to finally find her working as a Mystic Fire Grill. Only his siblings knew what she looked like, so he thought it would be easy to get her away to take her. He already had his witch and had taken Jules earlier to a basement, knowing the full moon would be in a few days or so. All he needed was a vampire and his doppelganger now. Klaus sat down at the bar, acting like any other customer in here, waiting for his chance to get what he came for. Hello, love, he greeted his doppelganger before she could ask what he'd be ordering. Then, when she looked at him, he tried to compel her, saying, I think you best come with me, love. You're an idiot if you think I'm going anywhere with you. Besides, if we have enough originals when you run town, that the big bad wolf coming to try and collect me for some ritual. I may not have known what you looked like until now, but anyone that's been around the original long enough would know what they sound like. I'm guessing your class. And instead of calling me mom, how about you call me by my real name like everyone else does around here? It's Catherine. Now, are you going to order something or are you going to leave me alone? The man, Klaus said. No, that was the only thing that would keep my shiver from being compelled. Yes, David was quite smart once I found out about what it was in this town. Now, how about you leave? Or I can get another original. We've come to quite an understanding. Besides, last time I checked, I'm supposed to be all intact, so you can be your hymen self, she replied. If you know so much love, then you know that you're not much of a match against me. There are ways I can make you come with me without using my tricks, she replied, before giving her a smile. Well, I can be stubborn-headed, so it's not going to work on me, she replied. Then, having had enough of him, she went to go take someone else's order. Several hours later, she got off work and headed towards her vehicle, only to be grabbed from behind. Then she heard the voice from earlier tonight. They are always on the ways, Klaus said, and everything was black for her. When she woke up, it was daylight. She saw that she was inside an apartment, which she knew by knowing pretty much every high school teacher she'd ever had during high school. Plus, her history teacher, Rick, had been her guardian after her parents before she'd graduated. She then saw Klaus and the witch. She also realized that she was tied to a chair, but she wasn't hurt in any way. Klaus approached where she sat. I hope you're not going to make this any more difficult than this has to be. In a couple of days, this will be all over with. Sacrifices will be made, and I'll be the hymen I was meant to turn it into in the first place. Now, why don't you be a good doppelganger and stay here? I have some unfinished business to attend to. I hope your plan fails, was all she could think to say to him. There wasn't much she could say in this situation. Unless David found her, she was alone. Sure, she and Elijah had an agreement for him to keep those she cared about safe. But though she did care for her own safety, she'd rather them be safe and her die than for it to be the other way around. She didn't think she could live in a world without David after all. David, however, she figured would eventually be able to move on from her. Surely she'd have many in the past that she'd loved and gone over. He was a vampire after all. The next day, David finally found where she was being kept. So he was able to go to her rescue and get her out of there. After they worked with Elijah and Rebecca to figure out a way to make sure she didn't die in the process of the ritual, with Elijah's help, they came up with an old elixir that was never used, that could be used, that it would seem that she had died, but she truly was alive. David didn't like the plan, though, and wanted to do it his way. She stopped him from doing so, though, but was mad at him for even thinking about it. Sure, she loved him, even though neither of them had said that he wanted neither. But she didn't want to be a vampire. She was fine with their existence, but actually being one was different for her. To her, being a vampire meant throwing away what little she had left. That night, David was walking around the woods looking for someone to feed on. He was upset, thinking she'd probably lose her, so he needed to take it out on someone. There just wasn't anyone right now. Suddenly he stopped, hearing something. Then, when it came out of the bush, he knew what it was. A black werewolf. The werewolf lunged at him due to being a vampire, landed on top of him and tried to bite him. But David put a hand on his chest to keep him from biting him. He then was able to throw it off him quite a distance away. Then, before he could get up and chase him, he rode home. The next day, a cat was in her room by the window when David showed up. She was still mad at him for his mistake about putting vampire blood into his sister's life before the ritual, so she didn't want to see him. What are you doing here? She asked. when she turned around to see him. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need it. He replied to her. He didn't want to tell her that he found out that she'd been bitten, but he also needed her forgiveness for what he wanted to do to her. He warned it before he died, because none of them knew the cure for a werewolf fight. Please, David, just go. We'll talk when this is all over, she said. When she told him that, he knew she wasn't going to forgive him anytime soon. So David left her house, heading back to his own. That evening, he began hallucinating at the Mischief Annual Fair. Unknown to him, Catherine was at the fair too. Since he was hallucinating, he didn't see her, but she did see him. Even from a distance, she could tell that something was wrong with him. So she stopped the fun she was having to find out what was wrong. Flashback, 1864. It was a dismal night as she stood by a tree with Rebecca. She was teaching him how to hunt, so she just finished showing him the ropes and putting how to compel a human. She didn't know how long she'd be staying, so she knew she had to teach him everything before that time came. After they'd finished feeding and she healed and compelled the human, they stood in front of the tree, him in front of her, her back against the tree. You can leave this all behind. We can travel the world together. What do you say? He said, giving a smile. She gave a smile back. I'd love to. If only I could get away from class. They gave a smile before making back. And in flashback. Cat caught up with him easily. She then stood in front of him, which was when he began to say things to her that didn't make sense. That made her realize that he wasn't well, because he was hallucinating the past. He even had her against the tree. She assumed it was the past with a vampire she either knew or didn't know. She rested her head outside the tree. David, it's me. It's Catherine, she said, trying to bring her back to the present. As she did so, she saw something on his arm that had tried to heal, but wasn't healed. Since she and David had done extensive research on werewolves, she knew that he was dying for a werewolf fight. For a moment, she came back to the present. Catherine, he staggered a little from weakness, but she put a hand on his arm to keep him from falling. Then she put another around him, helping him walk. Let's go down here. As she helped him home, she could feel how weak and sweaty he really was. Now she knew why she'd come to her asking for forgiveness. He'd needed it before he died. She wasn't going to let him die, though. She was going to go to the source. Klaus had to know the cure, so she was going to make a deal with him. Later that night, she sat on his bedside, though it hurt her to see him like this. You have left me in 1864, he said softly. I like you now the way you are, she replied. Then she added, I forgive you. She then called Rebecca to watch him, telling her what was happening, that she left to go to where Klaus was at. She entered Rick's old apartment where she found Klaus. Come to turn yourself in, love, he greeted. Yes, but there's something I need you to do first. And what's that? I need you to save David's life. He's been by a werewolf. If you hand over the cure to me and let me cure him, then you have my promise that I will return vertically. And when this is all over, you have to promise me that whatever happens, you won't hurt David or worse. He gave a smile. I promise you won't be harmed, he told her. Then he bit his wrist and put some of his blood in a vial before giving it to her, which she took. I expect you to come back tonight. I've got everything I need, so do hurry back. I will, she promised him before leaving. Once she got back to David, she saw Rebecca on his bedside. She handed Rebecca the cure. Save him. Klaus is expecting for me to return. I made a deal. He promised to not harm David no matter what. I'm taking the elixir before the end of the ritual. Make sure David doesn't interfere. She told the original sister before grabbing the elixir from the end table. Then the human laughed. She hadn't told Rebecca, but she and Elijah had made a deal. Only David knew about the deal. There were siblings of theirs that Klaus was said to have disposed of somewhere. So she used that as a way to make Elijah angry enough to kill Klaus. After all, they knew Elijah was family oriented. They also knew that they could tell Rebecca what Elijah was going to do because she recognized those that had anything to do with killing Klaus. Unless, of course, Rebecca loved them. She'd lost too much to Klaus. Rebecca wouldn't kill anyone she loved, not David nor Elijah. Kat arrived in time for Klaus to take her to the site of the ritual area. There was a circle with jewels in it. Jewels were starting to phase from the full moon. The witch stood in her spot, finishing the spell, and when no one was looking, Kat drank the elixir. There was also a vampire in a circle. She could tell that he'd been recently turned. She knew him. It was John. Since she tried to kill David, though, she didn't care that he was going to be sacrificed. When the witch finished the spell on the moonstone, Klaus killed her and then Jules before sticking John, killing him. Then Klaus stood behind her and she felt flames in the side of her neck. Then, after a few minutes, everything went black. After David was saved and felt better, he left Rebecca behind so he could fetch Catherine. He wasn't going to leave her there whether she lived or not. He loved her too much. As his transformation began, bones breaking, causing him pain, Elijah appeared and knelt by him, plunging his hand into him, ready to end him before he could whip out his heart. Klaus stopped him, telling him that they were alive but Datherine, and that she'd never find them if he killed him. So at that information, Elijah rode away with him, deciding not to kill him, just as David arrived. David heard and saw everything between them, which didn't make him happy. He was more worried about Kat, though, so he went over to where she lay and gently picked her up in his arms. He then went home. Once home, he gently laid her down on his bed, waiting for her to wake up, seeing that she was alive. He then sat on her bedside and held her backward, doing that before she woke up. Half an hour later, she woke up. It was just fine. That relieved him, knowing she'd at least be alive and human for the next 24 hours. Chapter 12. The Search. It had been months since anyone had seen Klaus and Elijah. They all knew that Elijah was with Klaus, though. Elijah had always been there for Klaus, even when she'd faced for the first time 1,000 years ago. Elijah was always at Klaus' side no matter what. Rebecca, on the other hand, stayed away from and in the Mexican home. She knew Klaus would be wanting to quit time now, but she also knew that Klaus would be able to. Catherine was still alive after all, and Klaus had no clue about it. Everyone involved was keeping that a secret from Klaus, but they all know he would eventually find out. However, even though no one had seen Klaus or Elijah in several months, Klaus and David were keeping track of the body account to know where they were. They wanted to know where they were. That way, they would know if Klaus was possibly going to head back to Mr. Falls. If he headed back here, That would mean that Klaus was suspicious as to why he couldn't create his own species. In the meantime, they were in search of which originals were in their bloodline, and during the search they found out through Rose that she'd been turned by Mary. In turn, Mary had been turned by Rebecca. Klaus and Elijah's erratic and destructive brother Cole. They didn't know who Lexi had been turned by though, so they didn't know if any vampires they cared about were in Klaus' bloodline. They needed to know though, because they had to know if it was worth killing Klaus. If they drove a white oak stake through the hybrid, they didn't want to take any of their friends with them, and so their search continued. It was a dismal night as David drove. After finding out what they thought, what they found out, they continued traveling, and throughout the traveling they became closer than ever. Because of this, it was tense as he drove. When he saw a hotel, though, he stopped in the parking spot. Let's check in here. We can pick up our drive back tomorrow, he said. After a moment of looking at each other, they began to make out. They couldn't hold in their desire any longer. An hour later, they were set up in a hotel room, now in bed, and as they lay in bed, they held hands. Neither of them felt guilty for what they'd done because they both wanted it. Chapter 13. The Rescue. The next night, Klaus arrived in town, having found out that she was still alive, so he captured her. He then had her put in the hospital with a hotel nurse, telling her to take her blood for him. When David found out that Klaus had taken her, he was angry, but had found out that Klaus here was his stepfather, Michael. So he found out that Michael's chained inside a mausoleum in a cemetery. He then went there, found a way to wake him up, unchained him, and made a deal with him to help defeat him. Once David found Klaus in the parking lot, he stood a short distance away, being smart to not be too close. Where is she? He demanded angrily. Oh, Katrina? She's making her donations, Klaus informed him, calling her by another former Catholic. David burned over and tossed him, making him land on the hood of a car. Then he pinned him there, and after coming back to him, and after mentioning that he knew where Michael was, Klaus growled in anger, but was secretly in fear as he said, "You're bluffing." "Am I?" David replied. "Let's find out." Then David rode off to the hospital. Meanwhile, Kat woke up feeling weak, only to find a nurse taking blood from her. She saw that she was in the hospital, but weak or not, she knew she was in danger. It wasn't just because of remembering that she'd been found by Klaus. It was because she knew it wasn't normal for a nurse to have taken so much of her blood. She also knew that she was too weak to fight anyone. All she could do was plead. "Please," she pleaded with the nurse. "I'm sorry, dear. I have to for the friend Klaus." She saw the nurse use a syringe on her, and everything went black. As soon as he arrived, he hunted down his present love, looking in each room. Luckily, she was on the first level, so it didn't take long to find her. And once he found her, he walked into the room. He then stood at her left bedside, looking at the tube of blood attached to her arm before disconnecting her. Then he slid an arm under his other under her leg and gently pulled her into his arms before handing out with her going home. When she woke up, she saw that she was in bed at David's, him sitting on her bedside, a bottle of water on the end table. "Hey," he greeted. They sat up in bed and took a drink from the bottle before looking at him. Where were you, David? I'm sorry, I had to find Michael. We need him to take down Klaus. It took a little longer than I thought, but he's on our side. They'll kill him for us, he explained. He then rested a hand on her left one. I promise you, I will never leave you again, he sincerely added. She gave a smile when she returned. Good, she replied. Chapter 14, Homecoming. It was a nervous night as they faced class. Rebecca had been kept out of the group, though. She didn't know that Michael was around, nor did she know about the attack on her half-brother class. So it was just David and Lexi. As David tried to stay behind her and inside the school, the hybrids ran towards the school, but Lexi threw grenades at them, stopping them. Leave him to me, Michael ordered, standing outside at the entrance. David looked to see Michael, which was when Klaus tossed him aside and stood. Hello, Nick Klaus, Michael said as Klaus looked at him. Hello, Michael, why don't you come in? Or you can come outside if you want, Michael invited. Michael, watch my hybrids till you live and live. They can't kill me, he reminded him. True, but it will make a hell of a punch game. All I have to do is rub these two fingers together and they'll pass across the fork. Holding two fingers together on the hand he held up. The big bad wolf. You haven't changed. Still hiding behind your playthings like a coward. You only forget. They may be sired by you, but they'll still point to that fire, and they can be compelled by me. As she told Klaus that, a fear came behind Michael, standing with him. Come out and face me, the Klaus, he ordered. I don't need them. I just need to be rid of you, Klaus replied. To what end, the Klaus? So you can live forever with no one on your side? Nobody cares about you anymore, boy. What do you have other than those whose loyalty you forced? No one. No one. Come outside and face me, you little coward, Michael replied. My whole life you've underestimated me. If you kill them, you lose your leverage. So go ahead. Go on. Kill them. Come on, old man. Kill them. Kill them. Michael chuckled. Your impulse, Niklaus. It has and will forever be the one thing that keeps you from truly being great, Michael said, before whipping out the hearts of the remaining living hybrids. A moment later, Klaus grabbed the white oak stake and killed Michael before Michael could act. Rebecca walked in at last, a hand on the duckling's arm. After finding out what they were up to, she'd found her and taken her here. Klaus turned around to see the situation as David got to his feet. What do you think you're doing? David asked, sounding calm, but clearly not happy at the original system. You knew I'd find a way to avenge you trying to kill my brother, but you tried anyway. This is what happens when you try and kill my brother, she replied. Think about this, sister. I need her alive, Klaus said. If you kill her, do what? Stick a dagger in my heart for another century. Nothing new there. Go ahead. If I kill her now, your obsession with hydrants just might go away. Becca was too involved in talking, so she didn't realize that Lexi was behind them. Not until Lexi grabbed her by the throat from behind. If I were you, I'd let her go right now, Lexi threatened. Then, when she let her go, Cat was with David. Lexi let the no go. She wasn't expecting the next outcome, though. Before anyone could do anything, Rebecca looked out Lexi's heart, killing her before leaving with Klaus. Later that night, after they'd buried Lexi and went to the boarding house, he poured himself a shot glass of bourbon and finished it before chucking it at the fireplace, making it break into 2 million pieces. Cat came over to him, seeing that he was throwing one of his angry tantrums. We thought of everything, Cat said. Klaus having hybrids, Michael turning on us. Anything could have gone wrong. We were prepared, he yelled. We blew it. I had him, Catherine. I had Klaus. This could have all been over. Hey, David. Hey, hey, listen to me. Cat rested a hand on the other side of his face once she looked at him. We'll survive this. We always survive. Trust me, she assured him. David nodded, agreeing with her. Then they hugged, happy to have one another, but grieving after losing Lexi. Chapter 15. The Departed. It was a dismal night as Klaus faced his family. Elijah had undangled their family that would always undangle their mother, Esther, included. Cole and Rebecca had been undangled for a while, but now Finn and Esther were also awake. Klaus was afraid of this because she knew they hated him, though his mother acted like she'd forgiven him for killing her. She even planned for a ball. The next night, Esther whipped them together, planning to kill them all to undo what she saw was a mistake. She wanted vampires to no longer exist. Fred even agreed because he hated being one. Eventually, her other children found a way to unleash themselves. But Fred mistaked by David to save Kat from him. And once they unleashed themselves, Klaus killed his mother yet. The next day, Kat woke up in the hospital, having been injured by a vampire attack the night before. She was assured by the only doctor that knew what existed, though, Meredith, that she was fine and could go home that night. And that was the night that Rebecca got her vengeance. Despite Klaus wanting her alive, Rebecca stood in the middle of the bridge, which made Kat swerve as to not hit her, and Kat's SUV dove into the icy wall below. A few hours later, David walked briskly down the hallway. Meredith at his side, him demanding where she was. You're not listening to me, David, Meredith said. I helped her. David stopped walking as he finally got the hint. He realized that she'd had vampire blood into her system and she'd died from the crash in the river. He knew that meant that she'd wake up and transition to become a vampire. Chapter 16. New Vampire. Catherine woke up to find herself in David's bed at the boarding house. The last thing she remembered was trying to avoid hitting Rebecca, but the SUV dived into the wall below. She saw David leaning against the threshold of the bedroom, undeniably having been waiting for her to actually wake up. Finally awake, she commented, and went to stand at the foot of her bed. She sat up in bed, having a feeling that there was something wrong. She had the feeling David needed to tell her something. What's going on? I can tell there's something you need to tell me. What is it? I hate to tell you this, but Meredith put vampire blood in your system when you were brought in after being attacked by a vampire. You didn't survive the crash, but we'll get through this. And I'll make sure Rebecca's punished for this. I know you never wanted to be a vampire, but sometimes it happens. Right now, you're transitioning into one, but you can't complete the transition without feeding. Without feeding, you'll die, he told her. This was not the time to be gentle. This was the time to give her the hard truth. I'm sorry, he added. No, she thought. She was then silent before saying, I'll do it then. She didn't want to be a vampire, but she also didn't want to die. If it came down to two choices, she'd rather be a vampire than to truly die. Although David knew she never wanted to be a vampire, he was glad that she chose to be a vampire rather than slowly dying without feeding. Let's find you someone then. Come on, he said. Then he left the house with her to find her someone to feed on. It was dark as they stood on the road with the human, David having compelled her to not be afraid. Catherine feeding from the side of the human's neck. She pulled away for a moment now, a full-fledged vampire. but they resumed feeding, this time more viciously. Catherine David said to him to rein her in, but she just growled at him. So when that happened, he pulled her off the human. Show a little restraint, he told her. Then he showed the human and compelled the human to forget and to go home before he looked at her again. What did you do that for? She growled, unhappy. We can't go around feeding humans dry, he explained. So what? We're vampires. We can do whatever we want, she argued. Not like this, he replied, trying to reason with her. If you're afraid of some council of humans, maybe you should go, she growled. Not leaving, he replied. Eventually, he was able to get her to think correctly. He then got her home to his place. The past few months seemed to go by quickly. After the first week, she got her to listen to him, so it became easier to teach her vampirism 101. And after he taught her everything and she was under control, they officially became a couple. So the love story came to be with them both being vampires. They even both became legends, but they were the good legends.